The last 2 years, I've spent reading books on psychology. This intention was set to first support my clients more, to second, gain a greater understanding of what the trauma realm is about. If I wasn't going to school, if I wasn't going to be trained as a therapist, then I might as well do my due diligence and read a lot of books. And so, what I did is I to be honest, I met with a mentor who just so happened to be a book nerd, and him and I gathered a whole series of books for me to read. And a series of unfortunate events allowed me to have a large amount of downtime to step away from my clients and to just focus on reading books. And so I started the journey about 2 years ago, just immersed myself. I was the precocious child. I was so excited to read because I had never read a book before in my entire life. And so the first book that I picked up was a very difficult psychoanalytic book on female psychology and on the female journey, on the animus, and integrating a lot of the mother father complex. It was just very intense for a new reader, but I was so excited to start reading that I just went all in. So when me and my mentor got to work together and I had all this downtime and I continued to read, I hit a point where I wanted to start rereading books. So that's why it kind of took me a longer period of time to complete my 100 books. And as well, psychology concepts are a bit difficult. There's so much within them, depending on the branch of psychology that you study. Like, if you're going beyond the cognitive behavioral realm and you're dabbling into more of um, the humanistic or the Jungian depth psychology realm, like it's so intense. So it gave me enough knowledge in each different realm that I was able to ground myself in my business more, to support my clients better, and to feel really secure in what I knew. I had a bit of a shadow around people telling me things because I felt as though it was a projection based off of what their ideas were on psychology and on trauma, especially in the realm of social media. It's very sticky there. And I know because I was a part of that shadow where I wasn't doing my research and I was showing up intuitively and guiding, through my feminine, which was powerful, but also it lacked the masculine, it lacked the intellect, and we need the intellect. So, going into all of this, it was a major journey of integrating the shadow, the opposite of me, which was my masculine. And I have gained, again, so much strength in this process. And I just hope that this is something that you can do for yourself as well. Like, don't take anyone else's word, go to the teachers, stand on their shoulders, and then refine what they have taught. We want to integrate the knowledge, apply the knowledge, let it be an internal experience and then an external experience, and then refine. Refine your self-image and your ideas that you have received through them. So there's never an end point in this, and that is so exciting, and it's just all good. So let's get on to the books. We're going to start with a more comprehensive structure so you can understand trauma, and then we'll dive deeper into the unconscious body, which is looking at the nervous system, and then we'll go into more of the unconscious psyche. So yay, I'm so excited. I've been wanting to make this video. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time. So let me just somatically ground myself. And tap in. Okay, let's get on to this. The first book that we're looking at is Complex PTSD from Pete Walker. This gives you the basic foundation, the comprehensive structure of trauma. So we're looking at emotional flashbacks, toxic shame, the trauma types, nervous system responses, inner and outer critic, neglect, and emotional abuse. Um, this will give you some great insight on the practicalities of trauma psychology. So once you have read that, we're going to get right into the parent dynamics and how you have built yourself based off of your parents' trauma. I have two books. The first one will directly work with the parent complex, so you can differentiate your inner system from theirs. This is a really great book. As we move beyond the parent complex, we're looking now at a cultural exploration of intergenerational trauma. And this book by Thomas Hubel, he beautifully elaborates as a mystic and spiritual teacher how it's not just the parents, it goes deep. It goes into the bloodline of this earthly incarnation, how it's woven into the land. So I recommend picking this book up to complement It Didn't Start With You. So you have kind of the foundation of trauma psychology in those. Now, moving on to how trauma is stored within the body. Many people have read this book, The Body Keeps Score, and though it's very informative, it's very head heavy. So instead, I recommend, as we're traveling into a new housing unit, to learn about this completely different system that resonates with trauma. Let's go to Peter Levine's Opus Magnum, In an Unspoken Voice. He brings forward comparative brain research with studies on more of the animalistic side of the human. It's such a rich exploration of a person's biological experience of trauma. So pick this book up to explore trauma in the body. And now we're going to leave that house and go into a new one, and we're looking at the inner child. This is where it's going to get a little bit fun because we're doing the inner work. So you kind of gained an understanding with a more practical, foundational work with the complex trauma, complex PTSD, and we're looking at the body. We looked at family and the generation, the collective, but now we're getting into more of a subjective realm. Not that the other ones weren't subjective, but the way that we're diving deeper, it's just intimate. It's very personal. It's so different because it really feels as though you're reconnecting with lost parts of yourself. The inner child. We're going to the house of the inner child, and what you will do here is you will gain a greater sense of autonomy, standing up for your inner child. You will play and reconnect and cook and dance and have art, and you'll run around outside. You will bring light to this part of your psyche that has been repressed for so long, because as adults right now we are trying to maintain this image, and then we think that fun is going out and drinking and sleeping with people and doing making fun of people, and it's like that's naive fun. That's actually a wounded inner child. And we want your inner child to be thriving with excitement and joy and play. And the way that we're doing this is going to the house of the inner child, and we'll first hang out with John Bradshaw, Homecoming. I've held this book up before, and then Alice Miller, The Drama of the Gifted Child, and you are going to likely cry or have a very soft experience when you read this book because you're going to think, oh, damn, I didn't realize how much I manipulated my inner child because of my parents' unconscious behaviors, which really they didn't know. So I'm kind of giving parents a little bit more grace, but she's a little bit harsh in rediscovering this lost self through the inner child. So she will have your back if you're wanting to feel a little bit of resentment, which goes into healing. It's okay to feel the darkness and heaviness because you always go into the healing. You have to be honest about the process. But John Bradshaw just keeps it light. And he's like, yeah, and at this stage, and at this stage, and at this stage, this is what your inner child goes through and experiences. So you'll hang out with both of them in the same house, and you will recollect the power of the inner child, because that divine child is going to lead you to just a really pure place. Wussa, feels so good. Feels so good. Last book of this. It's a black book. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a plain black book. The last book of my pack of what I had for you before we get deeper into the unconscious mind. This one's like a perfect transition into that. So we have internal family systems. Richard Short's incredible for exploring the different parts of yourself. When you're traveling into his house, what you'll do is you're opening the door and then you're going to meet all the different versions of yourself. So you'll sit down at a table and you'll see the part of you that wants to go wild and crazy and wants to be primitive. You'll see the part of you that wants to be recluse, hide in your room and read books. And then you'll meet a part of you that's really excited and that has so much energy and it just won't stop. And then you'll meet a part of you that's depressed. Like, you'll go into parts work, and that's what it feels like. And when you're at this table with the many variations of you, you'll gain a greater understanding of why you protect yourself from doing certain things, of why you react in certain ways, of what you're trying to withhold because you're in fear of what will happen if it comes forward. So you'll pick that book up. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more books. We are getting into the map of the unconscious psyche, and the best way to do that is with Carl Jung. We are looking at the map of the psyche, which you will learn all of the great details. You'll look into your ego complex, or I should say your ego consciousness, the many different complexes, the masculine and feminine dynamics, the libido theory. You want the basics. And the reason why I bring this forward for you to really understand your unconscious psyche. When you go into this realm with Murray Stein, you're walking into a very open space where he's going to pull up like slide by slide, like you're back in school, and he's going to pull up slide by slide the Jungian lexicon. So he can break it down and say, I just wanted to lightly talk about this very important term with you, because it's going to be within the entire realm of the unconscious. No matter what you study with unconscious psychic work, like, these terms are very important, and this gives you the structure of the psyche. Pick this book up, please. Once you've learned with Murray Stein about the psyche, then we're going into a whole nother house with Robert A. Johnson. So when you jump into this house, you're going to learn about how to tap into the unconscious. And it's so important that we do that, because the unconscious is the reservoir of every piece of material that your ego has denied. So with this book, you're going to learn the techniques to go into active imagination and dream work. Dream work, that's all the symbols and images, everything that you experience in your dreams is a reflection of what your day was in connection to a traumatic experience of the past, or a complex, or an archetype which has taken over you now for you to be behaving and actively participating in the world as you are. So, dream work, active imagination, get to it. And then we're going to learn about your shadow side. Your shadow is the repressed traits that you have denied over your lifetime. And you have to learn about your shadow when you're understanding your trauma, because your shadow, being that part of you that was never able to be accepted in life, this is craving to be seen and to be integrated. And so you'll always be chasing this part of you unknowingly. Um, and you'll do this in really destructive ways. So, in promiscuous behavior, in addiction, compulsion, you will be blaming other people. You will have emotional reactions, and this is all the shadow. So, you need to learn about this. You have to. It's so important that we can see the depth of who we are, because in that is so much gold. Because imagine you starting to integrate those energies, you won't be responding or reacting from the same place anymore. Like, that version of the self will be integrated and refined, and you will thus, mature as an individual, and you're kind of teaching yourself how to love and nurture the heaviness and the density of you. So it's really important that we learn about the shadow. Okay, pick up these 2 books. I have 3 more books, and then we're done. Okay, to learn more about the self. Once we have left the house of the shadow, we're going to get into a house that is both. I'm seeing colors of the blue and the orange, of the structure and the rationality and the power and the assertion, with the flow and the flexibility and the oh, this fire of passion, the feminine. So we're looking at the masculine and feminine of you. A man, if you're a man, you're watching this, you have an inner feminine. She is your anima. And she comes through in your dreams as this very mystical being that's guiding you down a path. And she's trying to share with you a certain animal that may be your instinct. So you have an inner feminine. And this inner feminine is to be seen as an aspect of the self that requires full integration, so that you aren't projecting your you're not projecting your inner feminine onto another woman and then making her hold this image for you, and then when she isn't this image anymore, then you just shut down on her and you end the relationship, because your projection has been shattered and the mirror of what was good and golden no longer is. Like, no, you need to do your work and integrate this feminine so you can have a healthy relationship as a human being with another human being. That's what it is. Same goes for women. Women have an inner masculine, and that masculine is her animus. And it might come off as strong and powerful, or he may come off as very studious and intelligent and wise. Whatever her projection of what a powerful, loving, compassionate, structured masculine is, like, she will receive that in her dreams as well. But she will always, you can kind of see how people build their relationships, and like the image of a couple, it's like, oh, that is a person's projected internal masculine and internal feminine, and the way that they've like connected together is through this weird projection of the things which weren't integrated. However, that's not always the case. I mean, shoot, within this work, let me just share the book with you. Invisible Partners, how the male and female in each of us affects our relationship. Really does. It really does. I've been single for quite a while now, and it's a conscious choice, being single and celibate, and really honoring, like, sober, really, really honoring this part of me. And it's just so wholesome to connect with the energy of the masculine within, and to have this union first and foremost before dating someone. It's just, for me, it feels like the right thing to do. So, So, yeah, pick up this book because you want to understand your internal masculine, your internal feminine, and how you can have healthy relationships, not just in intimate relationships, but in every kind of relationship. So, the last two books that I have for you, and this is where we're ending the map of the psyche, is Archetypes. How fun is this? We're just going to enhance your knowledge on the masculine feminine dynamics within. And like again, what I haven't really expressed is when we're looking at these archetypes, we're looking at the complexes. Like you have internally something which is controlling you and guiding your behavior. And the archetypes are at the core of this. So I bring them forward as a way to heal trauma because what you will do naturally is go into the energies of the goddess or of the king, the magician, the warrior, the lover. You're going into those to integrate the parts of you that weren't necessarily fully there, like the energies lacked. And so much of this work is to integrate the opposite. We're integrating the opposite, the things that we don't know, the things that feel sensibly foreign to us. So that is my book haul share with you. That was a lot, but I just want you to know that as you're mapping out all of this, we're, going into every realm multiple different times. It's not just one time, it's multiple times. And for you to at least have this as a foundation, like this is your structure, let this give you roots while you deepen your spiritual journey. Okay, educating yourself is one of the best things that we can do. Also, applying what you're learning and then letting that dynamic ride take you wherever it will because it is not static, it's not one way, it's a lot. It's a lot, it's vast. So I hope this video has supported you. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in my next video.